couple days ago, I brought you info about Evernode, and obviously the hype is real. I'm glad you guys are all just as excited as I am, but I want to further enable any individuals interested in Evernode and hosting. So I decided I'm going to teach you everything you need to know A to Z, top to bottom, on how to set up an Evernode host. Like I said, you will need a couple things to do this, so let me get you on the list of what's required. First, you will need 500 EVR Evers token, okay? You're going to need some ZA tokens as well, the native token of the Zahao network. You're going to need 17.6 ZA, and that'll cover registration and your first 3 months of hosting costs. So you're gonna need this balance for each host you set up. The third thing you'll need is a physical or virtual Linux server as your host. You can't run this on your computer at home. You need some form of Linux server. All right. Your server is going to need to run Ubuntu 20.04. It's going to need 2 gigs of RAM and at least 2 gigs of swap and 4 gigabytes of minimum disk space. You can't use a container or Windows subsystem because the software isn't set up for that. I recommend you just go get a VPS, a virtual private server, because it would also cover the prerequisite of an Evernode host being online 24/7, 365. All right. For a VPS host, I myself use Cloud Fanatic, and that's how I'm going to show you how to set up an Evernode host, but the process is pretty much the same with every VPS provider. With Cloud Fanatic, it costs just under $10 a month to rent a powerful virtual private server that's going to be powerful enough to run an Evernode host. And it's also an unmetered service, so scaling for higher network traffic in the future will not break your bank. If you would like a VPS and you want to use the guys I'm using in this video, I left a link to them in the description, as well as links to some other offers and airdrops. Clicking any of them really helps the podcast and it really helps me out, so thank you so much. The fourth thing you're going to need is a domain name. You can use any host like GoDaddy or WordPress. I like to use Porkbun because, again, it's simple, it's cheap, and it works. I left a link to them as well in the description. The fifth thing you'll need is an email address, one that you don't mind sharing with the world, so you might want to make a new one. The sixth thing is you're going to need some form of terminal or command line interface. I use this app called Termius because it's simple, it's sweet, and it's completely free, but it does have paid options as well. But you don't need it for this host. I find everything just works with it. But you can also use the native command line that comes with your VPS. I'll show you how to get to that. And you can also use any other kind of command line interface app. But again, this tutorial will be with Termius. And of course, I'll leave a link in the description to that as well. So just to go over these 7 things, it's 500 Evers token, at least 17.6 ZA tokens to cover registration and your first 3 months of running a node, a virtual private server or a physical one. You can use my Cloud Fanatic link in the description. A domain name. I will also have a link to that as well. An email address, just make a new one, and a terminal application like Termius. For the more tech savvy, you could also get your own SSL certificate, but to simplify the process, we're going to get the free one that the Evernode software provides. Anyways, I'm going to try to keep this video as brief as possible because it's already been a lengthy process in terms of recording this and blocking out all my personal information, at least to the degree that I can realistically. But I gotta share some warnings. If your host is running misbehaving and ill-intentioned decentralized applications, you do have the authority and the responsibility to purge bad actors using the command line interface for Evernode. The Evernode command line interface as well has several commands that you should check out and learn so that you know the full utility and your full extent of permissions and rights as an Evernode host. If your host is behind a firewall, you may have to open 2 port ranges. Port ranges 26201 and 22861. For instructions on that, check the documents because this isn't that type of video. Evernode's automatic SSL setup requires port 80 to be free on your server. Without this, the initial SSL setup will fail. You don't have to worry about this though, because you're going to be using Cloud Fanatic. Once you go through this setup process, the Evernode network will automatically use your server to fulfill leasing requests from Evernode tenants. All right. You're going to earn Evers as tenants lease hosting, but you can pick how much Evers you charge for leasing instances on your Evernode host. On my host, I'm charging $0 right now. It's completely free to lease any instances on any of my Evernode hosts at XRP Podcast. I'll have the domains of all my hosts in the description as well for any DApp developers who are using the ZA network to utilize that if they wish. You are responsible for managing the funds in your host account, all right? You don't want to leave your Evernote host account empty without ZA, or you're going to risk getting kicked off and even possibly lose your rights to your hosting rewards and your ability to run a host. You still have real responsibilities as a host. You will be required to participate in the governance game to propose and vote on the Evernote hook changes. These proposals will also get you accepted or purged according to a predetermined set of rules set up for each proposal. Again, a lack of activity here can risk you getting penalized or kicked off the network, and you don't want to do that and lose all the Evers that you paid for registration in the first place. Anyways, to actually install the Evernote software, once you have your VPS, once you have your domain name, once you have the funds you need and a new email address, it's really simple. You just got to follow these steps that I take in this video and just do the same thing that I do. And every time you set up a node, it will work without a hitch. If you want to check out all registered hosts, I'll also leave a link to the dashboard for all active registered hosts in the description. Any commands and scripts I run in this video, I'm going to leave in a Google Doc because I don't want to make the description endlessly long. Finally, I think I've covered my ass in terms of warning you on everything, so let's get into it. So, in order to actually get your hands on some Evers token, right now it's a little tricky. The only centralized exchange that offers Evers is Bitrue, and currently Bitrue does not support withdrawals to the Zahao network for the Evernode token. So, how you're going to have to get it is either from the airdrop, hopefully get 500 airdrop to you, which is unlikely, or you can purchase it from the xmagnetic.org decentralized exchange. I'm going to place the link in the description, but it's just like using any other type of decentralized exchange. Only with this one, you're going to want to have a Sum or Salmon wallet on your phone in order to transact with it. All right. So, what you're going to want to do is, first of all, you're going to want to make sure you're connected to the Zahao network here. After that, you're going to want to hit connect your wallet. You're going to pick up your phone and you're going to open the Sum app for your phone. If you don't have the Sum app already on your phone, then you need to go pick it up. But after that, you would press the XN check mark in the middle of the bottom of the screen in the Sum app and you'd press scan QR code. After you hit scan QR code, and you're just going to slide to accept. You're going to sign in with your address. Again, you want to make sure you're on the Zahao network on your phone as well. Once you slide to accept, it should sign you in and you should see your address right here. When you're looking at your address, it should also show you your current token balance. And you can view the wallet as well if you need to, but you don't need to do all that. After that, all you need to do is come here. It's just like any regular DEX. You can either place a market order or a limit order. And keep in mind the conversion is in ZA, not US dollars. So you're just going to go here. You're going to place an order for 500. I recommend just doing a market order so you can rip the band-aid off quick. You're just going to do a market order of 500 Evers tokens, and then you're going to make sure you still left enough ZA, so at least 17.6 in your account as well, so that you have enough ZA and Evers for your node. Once you grab your Evers off the exchange and you have your 17.6 ZA tokens, what you want to do next is get a VPS server. This one I have on the screen is from Cloud Fanatic. This VPS server is only $9 a month USD, and it more than surpasses the minimum spec requirements necessary to host an Evernode. One thing that's really important here, notice I select operating system Ubuntu 20.04 on this screen when I'm checking out. Make sure you do that. Make sure you do that. Otherwise, you will have to rebuild your VPS server with the correct operating system. You can use code KVM10 off in order to get a 10% discount as well on your VPS server. The rest of this part I'm not going to show because you guys should know how to pay for stuff on your own. But anyways, another thing you should know is you can get your ZA tokens off of a centralized exchange like Bitrue and withdraw it without a problem. Just keep in mind during moments of volatility, you may have issues with that. Another way of purchasing ZA is by getting XRP, transferring it to the XRPL, and then you can also use xmagnetic.org in order to bridge your XRP and convert it into ZA. It's a fluctuating rate, so just keep that into account. But that's also another way of getting your hands on some ZA and subsequently some Evers if a centralized exchange like Bitrue is down and they're not letting you make any withdrawals or deposits, which was one of the issues I had during the process of making this video, which is part of the reason why I got delayed so long. It was ridiculous. But anyways, once you've purchased your virtual private server, all right, the next thing you want to do is you're going to go to My Instances. All right, here it'll display all the virtual private servers that you have, their specs, and their IP addresses and the names. Okay, you're going to go to Instance Details and you're going to press Manage. You're going to go to the server you just had. You can change the label in order to give it any type of name that you can recognize. This won't affect the actual process of building the Evernode host, so just call it whatever you want. So after that, you get your IPv4 address, all right? You're going to need this to connect to your new domain name. So if you come over here to Porkbun, this is where I like to purchase my domains, but you can also use GoDaddy or WordPress. After buying a domain name, what you would want to do is you would want to open the options panel. In the domain management setting, you can find under account. You would come down to where it says DNS records and hit enter. Once you're in the editing panel, I want you to scroll to the bottom where it says current records. All these current records that's currently there, just delete them all. Delete everything. Don't leave a single one there. All right. What you're going to do is you're going to add 2 type A records. It's already set up for type A. I don't want you to change anything here. Under host, you're going to leave it blank. And under answer, you're going to take the main IP address, your IPv4 address, and you're going to copy paste it and press add. That's it. You're going to add a second one, but now you're going to add www in the host panel, and you'll add your IP address again. Now you're going to have 2 type A hosts, okay? With your 2 type A hosts, that's everything you need to do with your domain name now. So you're good there. The next step will actually be connecting to your Evernode host, okay? What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take your main IP address. You're going to enter your terminal app. When you're in your terminal app, you're going to go to hosts. You're going to set up a new host. By default, you're going to place your IP address in the address section. You may want to give it a name as well. By default, the username is always root for any virtual private server. In order to get your password, you just come here, you click the I, and you just copy paste the root password into your terminal. If you use the terminal provided by the VPS provider, then you still will have to enter in the username and password, by the way, but you won't have to go through this configuration portion. But anyways, once we're done with all those steps, what we're going to do next is hit connect. It's going to connect us to the network. Now we are connected and our virtual private server is up and running, as we can confirm. What we want to do next, however, now that we have the virtual private server running, is we want to request a IPv6 address. This is just going to make our node a whole lot more secure, and it's just good for best practices. In order to do this, all you have to do is go to support, open up a new ticket, and then select the server that you want the IPv6 connection enabled for. Once you've selected your server, you're simply going to write a ticket. You're going to give it a little message submission. Some VPS providers will already have IPv6 enabled. So if you are using a different VPS provider, just double check with them. But no matter who you use, you can just contact support and they'll set it up for you. Once you do have your IPv6 enabled, again, you may run into an issue where you're unable to connect to set up your IPv6 on your Evernode. If you do run into that type of issue, I'm going to show you right now what lines to look for and fix if your IPv6 has been enabled, but you're still having connection issues. So I'm back now and they've turned on my IPv6 address. As you can see here, I have it under my main IP addresses. The first thing I do though is I do go down and reboot the server. All right. This just makes sure that since they enabled the IPv6, it's starting from a refresh state now and there will be no errors. In order to make sure your IPv6 is set up correctly, you're going to copy and paste this code into your terminal. I'm going to leave the code in the description. And you're going to hit enter and you'll get this screen. I want you to just scroll to the bottom with your arrow keys. Scroll to the absolute bottom. So right here at the bottom, you should see about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You should see 9 lines of code. And it's going to be either in white or green, depending on the terminal you use. You want to make sure these 9 lines of code are there. If you don't have these 9 lines of code, then what I want you to do is go to the description, all right? And you're going to copy and paste these 9 lines from the description, all right? If you don't have these 9 lines, you probably have 2 lines that say something else. Just delete those 2 lines, just get rid of them and copy paste these there. After you copy paste these lines there, you're just going to save it. Make sure you save it. All right. The command I use for saving is Command O on my computer, but I'm using a Mac and I've also switched up the keyboard configuration a bit. For you, it might be Control O if you're on a Mac or a Windows PC. So I've confirmed it, I've saved it, and now after that, I'm going to just get the Evernode install script. Like I said, in order to install Evernode, it's super easy. All you need is just one line. All right. This line will be in the description for you as well. It'll be subtitled installation script. All right. So just copy paste it from the description and press enter. All right. And now your virtual private server is going to start installing the Evernode software. It's just going to explain to you a couple things. You're just going to hit yes. It's going to be installing a couple things. You got to give it a little bit of time. But now that you are at this step, it's a good opportunity to actually read what's on the screen. Obviously, I'm not going to read it right now because I'm really trying to just give you a very brief and quick video on how to set up an Evernode host. I don't want to overcomplicate it. I actually just remade this video because honestly, I completely overcomplicated it in my first video. One thing that you can do while your Evernode setup is going on in the background is you can prepare the IPv6 address that you're going to need for your server. Okay. So, what do I mean? You're going to go to this IP address that they gave you, the really long one. Just go to the really long one. Okay. I just went back to say yes, 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 and keep the installation going. For all these settings, just say yes, yes, yes. You're going to be installing a new version of Evernode if you haven't installed it before, so just say yes. You're going to add in your email address here. Remember, use an email address that you don't mind being public. And then you're going to also type in the domain name that you purchased initially at the beginning of this video. Okay. Remember, it's the domain name that you set the two type A addresses to, but you would just punch it in like you're punching in youtube.com or twitter.com. After that, it's just a free SSL certificate. Press yes, yes, yes to everything. And you see right here where it says, does your host have an IPv6 subnet assigned to it? The CIDR notation for this usually looks like XXX and so on and so on. So this is where you're going to want to use that really long IP address that we initially requested from the support chat. Okay. So you're going to take that super long IP address and you're going to copy and paste it. You're going to go to this website that I've also linked in the description. I swear this is going to be the world's longest description today. It's called iplocation.io. But all you're going to do is copy and paste your long IP address and you're going to press check now. And then after that, you're going to copy and paste the CIDR. Just copy and paste it into your terminal, press enter, and just say yes, just say yes, just say yes to all of this stuff. It's just asking to use certain ports, it's asking to use certain ranges. Just say yes, don't worry about this stuff. Where it says specify the lease amount in Evers for your contract instances, I recommend charging as little as possible, at least for the beginning of the network. The reason I'm saying that is because right now there's not a lot of, incentive for people to use the network. So you want to attract people to using your host if you are trying to take this seriously. So currently I set my lease amount to 0.0001 Evers just because that's just the cheapest I can get it. By the way, this is one of my Evernode hosts, aqf.buzz. If you would like to use it or lease any instances, you're more than welcome. Like I said, I will have all my hosts in the description. But you're going to set your lease amount and press enter. You're going to use the default key file path. Don't change it. Don't get fancy. Just use the default. That way I can show you how to get your secret key later on. But now this is where you need that 17.6 ZA and you're going to need that 500 Evers. You're going to go to the Salmon app on your phone or the Sum app. All right. You're going to scan the QR code and you're going to first send 17.6 ZA at the very minimum. 17.6 at the very minimum in order to register your host and secure the transaction fees for the first 3 months. Once you send these 17.6 ZA, it'll update on the screen and it'll recognize that, and it's going to create an Evernode trust line. Once you have that Evernode trust line, you're going to scan the exact same QR code all over again, okay? The exact same QR code. And you're going to send 500 Evers to it this time. So instead of sending ZA tokens, you're going to send Evers tokens now. This is why I had to show you in the beginning how to get that Evers token and pull it off the decentralized exchange, at least until BitTrue enables withdrawals. But I'm grateful we have BitTrue because the alternative is nothing. But after you send the Evers, it says thank you. It creates the account and it asks if you want to subscribe to auto updates. I just say yes, because then you won't have to worry about updating your server. It'll do all of that for you. And now the rest of the installation is going to go on. If at any point you have an issue here and the installation fails, I don't want you to be worried. Your ZA and your Evers did not disappear. You just need to run the installation script again. In the part where it's asking if you're setting up an Evernode host for the first time, you're going to press N for no. The reason I'm saying you're going to press no is because you already have your key file for your secret key saved onto your virtual private server. All right. It's permanently saved there. So I'm going to give you the script. I'm going to give you the code in the description that will take you straight to your secret key. So this is whether you've completed the installation successfully in one go, or if the installation failed on you at that very last step after the QR code. That way you can get the private key And with the private key, you can get the public key as well. The public key is also displayed in the terminal, by the way. But this way, when you redo your installation, you press no, it's not a new setup. The installation is going to ask you for the public key first. You'll provide the public key, and then you'll provide the private key after. But like I said, you don't need to know any code. I'm giving you all the code in the description. I'm trying to make this as simple for you as possible because I want to make this clear cut and not overcomplicated for no reason. Please, by the way, take some time if you are actually doing this to understand what you're getting yourself into. All right. It's good that you want to participate, but at least enlighten yourself to your responsibilities so you don't end up hurting yourself or losing some money in the process. Like I said, this can be a very lucrative business opportunity, but you do have to have the willingness to learn and to engage actively in the community. And if you do, then I welcome you and the community welcomes you. And I hope that you find nothing but success. But, anyways, moving on, we're just going to fast forward into the future. So, midway through this, I lost my original video. So, I actually had to go and set up a entirely new node to show you the last part of this video. But that's all right because I plan to have multiple hosts, anyways. So, after everything is registered, you're going to see that your system has been registered on the Evernode network, and it's going to ask you to reboot your system. Just reboot it right away, press yes. If you can't reboot it from your terminal tab, just go to your VPS provider and just press reboot on their page. Like I said, you can just find your public key just by scrolling up and you'll find it right away, along with the destination path where your private key, your secret key, is located. That way, you can add your Evernode host to your Sum app, and that way you can control the funds on it. That way you can move the Evernode that your host is generating. Anyways, you're going to reboot the system or shut it down and turn it back on. It really doesn't matter. You can do it in the terminal or through your VPS provider. After doing that, you may need to reconnect your terminal. Termius, by the way, is completely free for personal use, so that's why I suggest using it. But after you do that, what I want you to do next is I want you to run the script Evernode Status. All right. So the script Evernode Status will just confirm whether your node is on and functioning as it should be. You'll see that the Sashimono agent status is active, the Sashimono board status is active. It may say that the host status is inactive. This is completely fine. It's normal because since you just spun up an Evernode host, it's just taking a moment to boot up. After about 3 or 5 minutes, run the Evernode status command once again, and you should see that it now says active. The Evernode balance will be zero, but don't worry about that because over the course of a couple hours, it's going to start being paid Evers tokens and adding it to its balance. But you won't actually see it for, I think, about a 24-hour period. That's when it displays, at least on the mainnet for now. So next thing I'm going to show you is how to see where your account details are. Again, all commands are just run with the subscript sudo nano. So to see your account details that are stored in the Evernode host, all you do is run command sudo nano, and then you just copy and paste this command here. Again, also in the description, I numbered and labeled everything. Here, you're going to be able to see what network your Evernode host is running on. You're going to see that your host is on mainnet, the address, the path to the secret key, the governor, as well as the lease amount. So, how much you're charging to lease an Evernode instance currently. You can edit it directly in here to change your lease amount if you choose to, but I'm just going to leave it alone. Anyways, the next thing I want to show you is how to get to that secret key. All right. I'm going to block off a lot of information here because obviously nobody needs my secret key. So in order to access your private key, again, you're going to press sudo nano, and then you're going to copy and paste in this destination path that I've given you. That's why I said do not change the destination path of your secret key, because it's a default for everybody. So that way you don't have to overcomplicate it. After punching that in, I simply press enter, and now it displays my secret key. You can copy and paste the key that's in quotations. Obviously, I've blocked it off on my screen for now. And you can paste this code into your Summon or your Sum app through the import account feature. You're going to import it via seed phrase, and then you're going to copy and paste this phrase into there. After that, you're going to press full access. That way you can send and receive funds from that account. And now you have access to your Evernode host account directly. You can see the exact amount of funds on it. You'll see the remaining balance of ZA on it. And you'll also see the balance of Evers on it, as well as the future balance once it starts generating commission for being an active participant in the Evernode network. Besides that, this QR code you can always send any tokens to if you choose to, if you want to stick to using the QR code for whatever reason. In order to see your host, you can register on the Evernode host dashboard. I will leave a link to that as well. The dashboard, once you're in there, it will also display the total amount of instances that you have available, your public address, your domain name, as well as the total lease cost of each instance, and an email address to contact you as well if need be. You can have multiple hosts all under the same email address, but you need a new domain name and a new virtual private server for each host. With that, I think I pretty much covered everything. So you guys should be able to take it from there. Besides this is pretty much everything you need in terms of information about Evernode. So if that helped you, that's awesome. If you have any additional questions, you can talk to me in the comments section or talk to me on Twitter, and I will do my best to help you out as well. If you appreciate this content, I don't know, come back for more. Fuck yeah. I'm trying to help people in the community anyways. I'm trying to do a public good. And I hope this helped you, and I hope this enabled you, and I hope this video gives you an opportunity to help yourself, to enable yourself, and to better your life. Take care, be well, be safe. God bless you.